Okay, so now that's my little thing, my little overview of what to study in terms of anatomy. Now let's talk about circulation. So we know the heart contracts, but yeah, I know it is difficult to learn online, but even like in, so which coloring book do I recommend? I don't recommend Kaplan. I think there are two coloring books that I kind of like. There's one, I think the Princeton Review one is very accessible and has very nice images, but it's a little cartoony. And then there's the classic anatomy and coloring book by Capit. It's like KPIT and Elson. And I like that one because they're not a big publisher and they've been at this for like a long time. I think it's around since the 70s. Sometimes their images might be a little detailed because everything is hand drawn by, I forgot which one is actually an artist. One of them, one of Caput or Elson, they're actually a trained artist. They're not an anatomist. But I think, yeah, I don't recommend Kaplan, but I do like Princeton or Caput and Elson's. I think those are two I like. There are other ones out there as well. But yeah, even when we were in person, this is something that I mean, I think I used to like try to go over this vessel anatomy in lecture, but it takes a lot of time because there are a lot of vessels, and I think people really didn't. I saw a lot of people falling asleep because again, pointing out these vessels, you don't need me to do that. I mean, maybe in the review session, if you have trouble identifying, I can help you with that. But I think there's like, if there's a more efficient way I would teach it, but I think this is just something a lot of the anatomy and things that you just have to repeat, that's better in self-study time. Okay, so then closed circulatory system. So we are vertebrates. We have a backbone. We have closed circulatory systems. Now, do I want you to know what an open circulatory system is? I think that's something more appropriate for general biology. So things like insects and what other organisms have open circulatory systems. I know definitely insects for sure, but I forgot what the other ones were. I know it's a long time ago. I didn't major in zoology, but what I'm talking about is like when you have a closed circulatory system, our blood is within vessels. Now these other organisms that don't have vessels, they have something called hemolymph, so it's not quite blood, it's not quite lymph. But what we have are vessels that contain all our blood and carry it to and from the heart. So that's why we have a closed circulatory system. So to put it at a very kind of like conceptual way, here's a very anatomically correct heart. So from the heart, we have our aorta, and that's the major vessel leading from the heart. And then we have our larger arteries, then our smaller arterioles. So, and then we have these branch off into many of these capillary beds. So you don't just have one capillary bed in your body. You have many networks of capillaries throughout your body, and these supply the tissues of your body and cells with all this, the blood supply. Then you have to kind of collect all the deoxygenated blood and waste from these tissues, and these will go to these venules that leads to larger veins, and then back to the heart. So this is why you have a closed circulatory system. This is your systemic circuit. Is there another circuit? Yes, the pulmonary circuit that leads to your lungs, but now we're talking about just the body in general besides the lungs and alveoli. So this is your systemic circuit. So all your blood, except for the part that's going to your alveoli in your lungs and back, pretty much all the rest of your blood is contained within this. So closed circulatory systems thing is that your blood normally stays within your blood vessels. So again, blood vessels, in general, these are tubes that contain blood. But what happens if blood escapes from these blood vessels? So the thing is that with a closed circulatory system, your blood should stay within these vessels. But what if this blood leaks out? So if it leaks out, this is what we call hemorrhage. Hey, remember hemorrhage? That's the medical term we talked about that refers to bleeding and excessive bleeding. And what we have here is, a nosebleed, right? Yep. So, or another the medical term for this nosebleed is epistaxis. Now, what we have here, can you bleed on the inside? Yes. And this is what we have with this internal hemorrhage. Look at this guy. I mean, he has the external hemorrhage right here, but look at this big lump right here. So what happens? You broke these vessels, blood is leaking, and now all that blood that's accumulating is swelling up right here. Oof, really painful, right? or even here. And I'm pretty sure he has like cauliflower ears. If you ever had like a friend or knew somebody who's a wrestler or a boxer and ever seen their ears like swell up. And I've never had to do that for my friends, but I've heard like you had to drain and whatnot. Yeah, so would it be bad if you poke the bump? Thing is like, well, depends, like, are you just touching it? Well, it's going to be painful. They're probably going to punch you back. But yeah, you definitely don't want to, yeah, this thing, like, if you do lance it and relieve the pressure, you want to use something, clean the area and not use something. Oh yeah, I do have cauliflower ears. Yeah, look at that. So this is internal hemorrhage. It's not, it's bleeding. The blood vessels are trauma. You have trauma to these blood vessels. You broke these blood vessels. But now the blood is going to the surrounding tissues, but it's not returning back to circulation. So this is hemorrhage. Even though it's not going towards the outside and obvious like those previous examples, this is hemorrhage. And oh, I think this guy had like a, I think if I remember correctly the source, he's a weightlifter and he tore his pec. So he also tore his pectoralis major and all the blood vessels in the tendons and whatnot. So yeah, that's why it's not a really dark tattoo. This is all blood inside surrounding that tear and leaking from that tear. So these are all examples of internal hemorrhage. So yeah, hemorrhage, aka bleeding. So what is it? Remember, we have a closed circulatory system. If you lose blood from those vessels into the environment, whether it's toward the outer environment, that's external hemorrhage, or you're losing it from the vessels but still contained within your body, that's internal hemorrhage. So yep, so you have both external and internal. And blood urine related to hemorrhage. Ooh, yes. The thing is like, yeah, your urine is made from blood, but should you have the contents of your blood spilling into your urine? Not in a normal healthy body.